premise. You'll notice that the common thread in all of the episodes that I've talked about so far is that the premise was either unclear or seemingly inane, and I think that this is where the whole idea of the 3-episode test comes from, because that's about how long it takes sometimes to figure out a show's premise. But if you were to ask me what the absolute least important factor is in determining whether a show is likely going to be great or terrible, it would be the premise. Not only has it been proven time and again that any premise can be made interesting if it's executed well enough, but also that no matter how good a premise might seem, it can make for a terrible series if executed poorly. Some of the best anime ever made have had some incredibly weak and boring premises. His and Her Circumstances is a high school romantic comedy about two really smart kids who start dating. That premise tells you absolutely nothing about the show's quality, but watching the show tells you that it's one of the most impeccably directed and written romantic comedies of all time. Ping Pong is a show about high school ping pong. You would have no reason to believe that it was any different from any other high school sports anime if you didn't watch it. Meanwhile, say, Aldnoah Zero is about a war between the citizens of Earth and the descendants of a group who colonized Mars, which sounds pretty cool, but the show is a bunch of dog shit, for reasons that were pretty apparent right from the first episode if you were paying attention. Go watch Turn A Gundam instead. Sources. The thing about premise is that it makes for really good marketing, especially if it can be understood immediately. I don't think it's all that surprising that 3 of the most popular anime of the past decade, Death Note, Sword Art Online, and Attack on Titan, each have an incredibly striking premise which is made clear from the very first episode. Of course, the execution of the premise in each of these cases varies wildly, and one of these shows is probably the worst popular anime series of all time. In retrospect, it's a lot easier to notice that the first episode of Sword Art Online dedicates nearly 10 minutes to an exposition scene between a big floating cloaked dude and a bunch of gormless noobs who were just standing around the whole time, and that this was probably indicative of what most of the show was going to be. At the time, however, the premise of a survival game set inside of an MMORPG was such a cool idea that I can't blame anyone for thinking it would probably be awesome. That, of course, is why I'm here, to help you to recognize the signs of poor execution before you get hooked into a show that's gonna drag you through the depths of boredom and bullshit for 53 goddamn episodes. So to start with, let's take a look at a show with an immediately striking premise and one of the worst opening episodes that I've ever seen. Gate. The premise of this series is that a gate opens up in the middle of Tokyo, which leads to a world of classical swords and sorcery, and the armies of that world end up going to war with Japan's self-defense force. Right away, a premise this batshit crazy is bound to turn some heads and to excite the imagination. How many wizards does it take to shoot down a helicopter? Can a tank hold its own against a gigantic dragon? Just how many dudes in armor can one turret mow down? These are questions which man has toiled with for decades. You might think of the possibilities of large-scale tactical battles involving the logistics of complex magic systems and supernatural terrain effects against the power of modern technological might, or maybe dream about the idea of a fleshed-out set of fictional government factions trying to interact and come to terms with the real ones that exist in our world. It's the kind of premise which really gets you wanting to see where the writer might go with it. If you're anything like me, then those hopes carried you about 8 minutes into the first episode, before it was pretty clear that the execution of this narrative would be lackluster at best. The first 50 seconds don't seem so bad, as a cold open teases at the hilarious premise that we're all waiting for, a horde of fantasy creatures facing off against a bunch of military dudes with assault weapons. The visual aesthetic is about as perfectly generic as it could possibly be, but at least it seems to be going right for the jugular on putting its campy premise front and center. Then the opening theme starts up, and the part of your brain that remembers seeing the words light novel next to the picture of the show on the Mal chart starts groaning. Mother's Basement wrote an entire video about how interchangeable the god-awful Akeboshi Rockets openings are, so I won't get too into that. But then we get our parade of equally interchangeable cute girls with candy-colored hair, and the illusions of a possibly gritty military or political drama start slowly wafting towards the window. The rest of the OP plays out like some weird combination of a cheesy military recruitment ad and a Sword Art Online trailer. See if you can spot the split second of hideous CG dragons spliced in there as a subliminal warning. Once the OP is over, we are taken into this weird bit. Hello!
It's a common problem. Young children have a fear of the dark. Some say it's because they've yet to develop the coping mechanism to be able to stare into inky blackness without imaginary horrors staring back. Whereas others say they just have an instinctive knowledge of the terrifying void of emptiness that will one day claim them. But I'll tell you what, you can completely do away with these fears by getting a model of a character they like and have it light up. Honest, that's science. Well, at least it was science until some knockoff companies in China made these, and frankly, ruined the whole thing with scariness. I present to you, Mario! Kind of Scabio? It's me, diseased Mario. Yes, regular viewers to this channel will be well aware of this type of art, this particular oeuvre of models made out of what appear to be plastic scabs. I've never seen them flesh-coloured before, though, and I'll tell you what, it's made my life considerably worse. Also notice the lines of stringy glue caught over everything. That's nice, isn't it? Well, yeah, from a modelling point of view, they've got the shape about right. I mean, the eyes aren't, they're not great, the hat's not too bad, the dungaree's all right. I don't know why there's a hole where the M is, well, to let light go through, I suppose. And yeah, he's basically naked except for his dungarees, and that makes things like his hands and feet look pretty weird because they're all kind of lumped together. He should, of course, be wearing gloves and shoes. Hat doesn't come off. I'm sad. And on the back, just above his rancid arse, is the fantastic on and off switch. And you already know exactly what's going to happen. It's the same LED thing as ever. It starts off red, so it looks like he's in an advert for Heartbeat. Now he's being touched by the light of... oh no, now he's gone green. I think that means he's in a Marvel film, he's about to explode. And now he's gone blue, and eventually it will go round to red again. No, it's going to go white first, and then a sort of yellow. Is it going round to red? Please go round to red again. Maybe it's going to come up with a fantastic new colour, never before seen. Octarine or something. Actually, seems to have cycled through and not gone back to red. I don't know what's going on there. It's weird. Oh, there we are. Oh, no, actually, I think it went back to, yeah. If you squeeze it, the circuit breaks. That's real quality for your kids right there. So, yeah. Your kid's sitting in the dark, a little bit scared. Let's put a weird multicoloured Mario thing in the corner that sheds sort of oddly coloured light through the holes in its serrated flesh. Thanks, Mario. Can't wait to see the Luigi one. But don't worry, if your kid isn't into Mario for some reason, he might like a bit of Frozen. That's popular with girls and boys alike, especially because of Anna's beautiful eyes. Yeah. You know, I thought when I ordered these, the actual scab stuff was going to be the worst. I think it's actually that moulded face. I can't tell if she's horrified, about to commit an awful crime, both. It kind of looks like one of those porcelain dolls your nan has, except even more mutated. The nose too far down as well. I don't really know. But yep, we've got light-up skirt action here. I've got to say, the weird rubbery plastic scab things actually kind of work for the dress, which is a rarity. It doesn't look well for flesh, as we will point out with our friend there, but there we are. Now her blue dress kind of has red stuff going through it. Now it's going different colours. It kind of works, actually, when it's the more blue end of the colour spectrum, the hue spectrum, so called because it was invented by Hue Spectrum in 1976. But when it goes round to red, it's all a bit weird, frankly. Do the arms move? No. Does the face look like this? Tragically, yes. I'm going to leave that there, just in case you do need new desktop wallpaper. Just let it go. Right. You go back there, and we'll get in our last friend of the day. Who are Minions, then? Answer nobody, because we're all sick to death of the bloody things. Despicable Me was good, Despicable Me 2 wasn't very good, and frankly I couldn't be bothered to watch the Minions film. But don't worry, because here's one of them. Names like Jeff and SpongeBob and Ezekiel. I think that's how it works. This is actually one of the nicest put together of them all. It kind of fits the character more. You know, you could almost believe this was some kind of actual merchandise. It's not, I hasten to add. What does spoil it, though, is, of course, the mighty scab construction. In fact, the horrible yellow colour here does kind of make it look like the minion is made out of piss crystals. Piss crystals being a fantastic name for a kind of electronic punk band. But also, oh god, I've just... Oh, there's glue. Oh, bukkake minions. We don't need that in our lives. It does have a bit of articulation. It can point in a rude manner. Or it can put its finger up and... Oh, that looks a bit too... That looks like it's flipping people off. Yeah, let's keep it in that direction. And switch it on. We're using the nice switch, as similarly on the Mario one there, as opposed to the nasty